Here's something that many men over 60 genuinely do not know, and that once understood changes every social interaction they have for the better. The woman across from you at a dinner party or at a bar or at a community event or in any setting where two people are getting to know each other may be signaling her attraction to you clearly and consistently throughout the conversation, and you are almost certainly not seeing it. Not because you are inattentive, not because you are uninterested, but because nobody has ever taught you the specific nonverbal language she is using. And without knowing the language, even the most obvious signals look like ordinary behavior. This matters particularly for men over 60 for a reason I want to name directly before we get into the content. The social landscape of attraction at this stage of life is genuinely different from what it was at 30. Women in their 50s, 60s, and beyond are more emotionally intelligent, more self-possessed, and considerably more subtle in how they signal interest than younger women tend to be. They are not going to perform the exaggerated, unambiguous flirting that popular culture teaches men to recognize. They signal through smaller, quieter, more refined gestures that require attention and knowledge to read accurately. And here's the important corollary. When a woman over 50 signals attraction, she means it. There is no performance for its own sake. When she is interested, her body tells you clearly. When she is not, it tells you that just as clearly. The signals I am about to share with you are honest, involuntary, and biologically grounded. They are the genuine nonverbal communications of a woman who is engaged by your presence and finding herself drawn toward you. I am Dr. Julia Rhodes, a men's sex therapist with over a decade of experience working with different couples and helping men regain their sexual health and strength back. Understanding nonverbal communication and the signals of female attraction is something I work with directly in couples therapy and in individual work with men who are navigating new or renewed intimate relationships at this stage of life. Today, I am going to walk you through 8 specific touch-based signals that women use when they are genuinely attracted to the man they are with. I will give you the behavioral science behind each one, explain what is happening neurologically and psychologically, and tell you clearly what each signal means and how to respond to it. Before we get into the content, please subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications if you have not already. Every week, I publish content specifically designed to help men over 60 navigate their intimate and social lives with more confidence, more understanding, and more genuine connection. Share this video with a man you know who is dating or interested in building a new intimate connection at this stage of life. And now, let us get into the 8 signals. The science foundation. Why nonverbal communication is more honest than words. Before the signals themselves, a brief but important foundation. Research published in the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior has consistently found that the large majority of emotional content in human communication is transmitted nonverbally through gesture, posture, touch, facial expression, and physical proximity rather than through the words being spoken. The emotional truth of how a person feels in an interaction is communicated primarily through the body, not through language. Language is managed, curated, and socially filtered. The body, particularly in the unconscious self-touching behaviors I'm about to describe, is considerably more honest. This is especially true for women of this age group. Women in their 50s and 60s have typically developed considerable social sophistication and verbal control. They are skilled at maintaining conversational neutrality when they choose to, but the nonverbal channel is less fully managed. And in the specific category of self-touching behaviors, it operates largely below the level of conscious control. She may be entirely unaware that she is repeatedly touching her neck or playing with her necklace. Her body is communicating directly without the filter of intention or strategy. This makes these signals considerably more reliable as indicators of genuine internal state than anything she might say. When you know what to look for, you have access to a communication channel that bypasses social filters entirely and tells you directly and honestly how the person across from you is actually feeling in your presence. For men over 60 who may feel uncertain about reading social signals in new or renewed intimate contexts, this knowledge is genuinely empowering. You do not have to guess. You do not have to wonder. The signals are there, they are real, and once you know them, they become as readable as words. Signal 1, she plays with her hair. The hair touching signal is one of the most well-documented nonverbal indicators of attraction in women. Dr. David Givens, who directs the Center for Nonverbal Studies and has spent over 30 years researching courtship behaviors in humans, identifies hair touching as one of the oldest and most reliable courtship signals in the human species. The mechanism is neurological. When attraction generates a release of dopamine and norepinephrine in the brain, these neurochemicals increase nervous energy throughout the body, including in the hands. The hair is one of the first places that energy finds expression because touching or adjusting the hair is a socially acceptable, apparently grooming-related behavior that provides a physical outlet for the internal arousal the body is experiencing. The critical distinction is between incidental hair contact and attraction signaling hair touching. Incidental contact is brief and not repeated, pushing hair out of the eyes, tucking hair behind an ear as a one-off adjustment. Attraction-related hair touching has a completely different quality. It is repeated. It is not obviously purposeful in a grooming sense, and it often involves slower, more deliberate contact. Twisting a section of hair around a finger, slowly drawing hair from one shoulder to another, lifting hair at the back of the neck to expose it. That last gesture leads directly to the second signal. For men over 60, it is worth noting that women of a similar age tend to express this signal with more subtlety than younger women. You may not see dramatic hair flipping. You are more likely to see a hand drifting to the hair at the back of the neck, or a slow, deliberate sweep of hair over one shoulder, or fingers gently working through a section of hair while she is listening to you speak. The gesture is quieter, but the meaning is identical, and in many ways, the quieter version is more trustworthy because it is less likely to be performative and more likely to be genuinely involuntary. Signal 2, she touches or exposes her neck. The neck is one of the most physiologically significant areas of the body from an evolutionary standpoint. It is the location of major blood vessels and vital structures, and humans instinctively protect it in context of threat and expose it in context of safety and trust. Drawing attention to the neck or touching it in the presence of another person is therefore a deeply embedded signal of felt safety and openness toward that specific person. Vanessa Van Edwards, a researcher who studies the science of human behavior and has analyzed extensive nonverbal communication data, has documented that neck touching in women during social interactions with men, they find attractive increases dramatically compared to interactions with men in whom they have no romantic interest. The gesture can take several forms: a light touch to the front or side of the neck, fingers trailing along the collarbone, a hand resting briefly at the base of the throat. What all these variations share is the quality of drawing attention to an area of vulnerability and simultaneously providing a self-soothing touch that manages the internal arousal of attraction. For women over 50, this signal is, if anything, more meaningful than in younger women. Older women are more socially self-aware and less likely to engage in nonverbal signals unconsciously or performatively. When a woman of this age is touching her neck during a conversation with you, the probability that it is genuine is very high. Signal 3, she touches or draws attention to her lips. Research from the University of Manchester using eye tracking technology found that when men look at a woman's face during conversation, they spend a disproportionate amount of time focused on the lips. Women, through accumulated social experience, understand this. The lips are a focal point of male visual attention, and drawing deliberate attention to them registers at a level below conscious awareness in the man receiving it. Touch to the lips during conversation with a man she is attracted to is one of the nonverbal behaviors most consistently associated with genuine interest in the behavioral research literature. It can manifest as a light touch of a fingertip to the lips, a slow drawing of the index finger across the lower lip, a deliberate and unhurried application of lip balm while maintaining eye contact, or the biting of the lower lip. What distinguishes this as a signal rather than incidental lip care is the context and quality. Attraction-related lip touching tends to occur in moments of engaged conversation during pauses when she is looking at you and may be accompanied by eye contact that is slightly more sustained and direct than neutral social contact would produce. If you are mid-sentence and she touches her lips while maintaining eye contact, she is not thinking about moisturizer. Signal 4, she fidgets with her jewelry. This is the signal most men miss entirely and one of the most reliable in the behavioral literature. When a woman repeatedly handles her jewelry during a conversation with you, spinning a ring, turning a bracelet, drawing a necklace pendant along its chain, running a finger around an earring, she is demonstrating what behavioral psychologists call a self-soothing displacement behavior. Displacement behaviors occur when the body is experiencing elevated emotional arousal and requires a physical outlet, but the direct expression of that arousal would be socially premature. The jewelry becomes the object through which the physical energy of attraction is expressed. The hands are doing something with the energy that the body is generating in your presence, and the jewelry is the most available and socially acceptable vehicle for it. Dr. Albert Mehrabian's research on communication and emotional engagement established that self-touching behaviors increase significantly when a person is emotionally engaged with their conversational partner. The more interest she has in you, the more her hands need to be doing something with that energy. And if a necklace rests just above her chest and her hands keep returning to it, there is an additional layer. She is, consciously or not, drawing your visual attention toward herself. Signal 5, she initiates physical contact with you. This is the clearest and most unambiguous signal on the list. When a woman reaches out and makes deliberate physical contact with you during a conversation, touching your forearm, your shoulder, or briefly placing her hand on yours, she is crossing a social threshold that has genuine significance. Research from DePaul University demonstrated that a brief, intentional touch during a social interaction meaningfully increases the touched person's perception of the initiator's warmth and trustworthiness. From the woman's side, initiating this contact requires more than passive interest. She has to actually reach out. She has to make contact. She is choosing in that moment to reduce the physical distance between you in a tangible and unmistakable way. It is also worth understanding what this contact means physiologically. Touch releases oxytocin, which is the bonding neurochemical in both the person initiating the touch and the person receiving it. When she touches your arm, she is not just communicating interest. She is actively creating a small neurochemical event in both of your nervous systems that promotes feelings of warmth and connection. She is, in the most literal sense, beginning to build a bond through the simple act of contact. This is not calculated or strategic on her part. It is instinctive. But knowing the mechanism makes it considerably easier to understand why this signal is as significant as it is. The appropriate response to this signal is important. Do not freeze, do not ignore it, and do not immediately escalate. The appropriate response is to acknowledge it through your own warmth. A slight increase in the quality of your attention, a genuine smile that communicates you noticed and valued the contact, perhaps a brief, natural mirroring if the conversational moment supports it. You are communicating that the signal landed, that you received it, that you are present and engaged. When a woman initiates this contact and receives no acknowledgement at all, the social experience is deflating and she is unlikely to reach out again. Signal 6, she touches or traces an object between you. This is among the most subtle signals on this list and one that carries genuinely specific meaning once you know what to look for. When a woman is seated across from you at a table and she begins to slowly trace her finger around the rim of her glass, draw a fingertip up and down the stem of a wine glass, or repeatedly run a finger along the edge of the table or a shared object between you, she is doing something behaviorally specific. Former FBI behavioral analyst and body language researcher Joe Navarro, whose work on nonverbal communication is among the most rigorous in the field, has documented this type of object manipulation extensively as an indicator of emotional and often romantic engagement. The object becomes a proxy for the physical connection she is not yet expressing directly. Her hands are drawn toward you, and the object in the space between you becomes the outlet for that energy in the absence of direct contact. The key quality markers are slowness, deliberateness, and repetition. This is not the absent-minded fidgeting of someone whose mind is elsewhere. It is the unhurried, repeated physical engagement of someone who is very present and very aware of the person across from them. Signal 7, she adjusts her appearance in your presence. When a woman straightens her clothing, smooths her top or skirt, adjusts her neckline, or makes any other adjustment to her appearance while in your company or immediately upon noticing you, she is demonstrating what evolutionary biologists call presentation behavior. It is the instinctive desire to present oneself optimally to a person whose attention and assessment has become important. The behavioral distinction that makes this a signal rather than ordinary self-care is the contextual trigger. If she was already adjusting her appearance before you arrived or before she noticed you, that is routine grooming. If the adjustment occurs upon noticing you or during a conversation with you, it is targeted. She is ensuring she looks her best in your specific eyes. The fact that your presence has triggered this self-adjustment is direct evidence of how she is receiving you. For women over 50, this signal may be more measured than in younger women who may preen more visibly, but it is present, and when you see it in this age group, it is genuine and deliberate. Signal 8, she rests her face in her hand while looking at you. This is the signal I most want you to internalize because it is the one most consistently and most consequentially misread by men. When a woman rests her chin in her hand, cradles her face, or places her fingers against her cheek while listening to you speak, the most common interpretation is boredom. She is propping herself up because she has disengaged from the conversation. This reading is, in almost every case, wrong. Dr. Monica Moore, a psychologist at Webster University, conducted one of the most rigorous observational studies of female nonverbal behavior in social settings, observing over 200 women and cataloging more than 50 distinct signals associated with genuine attraction. Facial self-touching, specifically chin resting and cheek cradling, was among the top 10 most frequently observed signals in women who were actively interested in and attracted to the man they were with. What is actually happening is something researchers call facial framing. By bringing her hands to her face, she is directing your visual attention to her facial features, her eyes, her expression, her smile. She is presenting her face to you and asking non-verbally that you see it and respond to it. This is not a passive gesture. It is an engaged, subtly presenting one that typically appears when she is genuinely absorbed in what you are saying and simultaneously very aware of how she appears to you in this moment. There is also a quality of vulnerability in facial self-touching that makes it among the more meaningful signals on this list. Women do not typically adopt this open, unguarded gesture with people they feel neutral toward. It tends to appear when they feel genuinely safe and genuinely drawn to the person they are with. If you have previously misread this as inattention and withdrawn your own engagement in response, I hope today you can reconsider those moments with a more accurate lens. And if you are speaking to a woman right now in your life in a social or dating context, and she regularly sits across from you in this posture, chin resting in her hand, looking at you with warm, engaged eyes, smiling gently while you talk, let me be unambiguous. She is not bored, she is invested. She is listening to you with a quality of attention that she reserves for people who matter to her. The appropriate response is not withdrawal or doubt. It is to meet her attention with your own, genuine, warm, fully present. What to do with this knowledge? I want to close with something about how to use this knowledge appropriately, because understanding these signals creates a responsibility to respond to them with the right quality of attention and care. These signals are not guarantees of a particular outcome. They are not cues to immediately change the dynamics of the interaction in a forward or presumptuous way. They are invitations to engage more genuinely, more warmly, and more attentively with a woman who is communicating her openness to a deeper connection. The appropriate response to any of these signals is to become more present, more warm, and more genuinely engaged with the person generating them. To slow down, to make better eye contact, to respond to what she is saying with real attention, to let her know through your own warmth and quality of presence that you see her and that you are glad to be in her company. I also want to say something directly to the men over 60 who have been out of the dating or social romantic landscape for some time, whether through a long marriage, through grief, or simply through years of not prioritizing this dimension of life. Re-entering that landscape can feel uncertain, and it can be easy to interpret that uncertainty as evidence that you are somehow behind or out of step. You are not. The signals I have described today do not have an age limit. They apply just as genuinely in a conversation between two 65-year-olds as they do between two 30-year-olds. The woman across from you is using the same language her body has always used. You now know how to read it. These signals are the beginning of a conversation, not the conclusion of one. They are her way of communicating that she is open to where this might go. What happens next depends entirely on the quality of the attention and genuine interest you bring to the encounter from this moment forward. I am Dr. Julia Rhodes, a men's sex therapist with over a decade of experience working with different couples and helping men regain their sexual health and strength back. If today's video gave you a genuinely new and useful way of reading the social interactions in your life, please do 3 things right now. Hit the like button because it helps more men over 60 find this content when they need it. Leave a comment below and tell me which of these 8 signals you have previously misread or overlooked, because I read every comment and your responses shape what I create for this community every week. And please subscribe with notifications on if you have not already, because every week I am here with the honest, evidence-based guidance on men's relational and sexual health that you deserve. I will see you in the next video.